Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. In today's video we want to look at how we can create a global API interceptor with Composables in our Nuxt 3 application. Alright, so what are Composables? Composables in Vue 3 are functions that encapsulate and provide reusable pieces of logic or functionality in a Vue application or Nuxt application. They are closely tied to the Composition API, a set of functions and reactive helpers introduced in Vue 3. Composables promote code organization, reusability, and a more flexible approach to building components compared to the options API used in Vue 2. Right off the bat, I have a new application I have just created, and you can see it has the welcome to Nuxt, and this is the Nuxt 3 version. All right. So we are going to clear this guy off. So I'm going to do add this component welcome page. I'm going to create that in a bit, and I'm going to remove this. Okay, so I'm going to create a folder to house my components, and inside that I'm going to create a new file. I'm going to call this welcome page.vue. All right, so I'm going to do this Vue 3 and just take this. Okay, can leave it for now, and I'm going to call this global API interceptor. Right, so something like this. Let's see. All right, so now that we have our welcome page running, looks good. All right, so let's do a couple of things. So first of all, we are going to be using the Composables. Like rightly said, Composables are for reusability code function that is available everywhere. So I'm going to create a new folder called Composables. All right, here I'm going to call this my file, this new file that we're going to be creating called use API. All right, .ts. Okay, and in a real world application you also want to create some sort of like a config. You can create like a config. All right, and in the config you are also going to create like your .env, right? And in your .env you might want to have like a base URL, for example. So yeah, and do my base URL, all right, equals to HTTP, like whatever it is you want to call it. And one thing you can also do is in your Nuxt config, all right, you can add a runtime config as well. Okay, so to do that you just do runtime config like so, and brackets, and it takes, you can have like a private, you have like a public. So if you want to have like private keys, for example, secret key, let's say secret, you can just have it right here and do something of this nature, 1 2 3. And if you want to have public URLs, you do public, right, and you do like so. So I'm going to call this base URL or base API URL. All right, and then I'm going to say process.env dot, what did we call it then? Base URL, this base URL like so. All right, okay. All right, so something of this nature. This works perfectly fine. All right, so let's get back to our Composables use API. So in our use API, what do we want to do? We want to import use fetch, and you can do this, all right, and let's give it a type, use fetch type, and it goes to type of use fetch signature. and then let's export this. So I'm going to call this use API fetch, or just use fetch API. All right, of type use fetch type, and takes in the path, and it takes in options like so, and our function. So we can come here and use our base API, for example, base API URL, right? In a real world application, to get the base API that we inserted in our Nuxt config.ts, it will do something like this. You can use the runtime config, all right, and you do public dot base API URL. So this is the base API URL, and this is it here, all right. But we're not using that, so you can just comment this out. And what we want to do is we want to use our JSON placeholder, all right. So do base API base API URL equals to this, all right. And we can now set the options dot base URL, base API, or no, base URL, right, equals to the base URL that we just added now. So for every time you call this, the base URL is going to be this. You can also set your headers, for example, authorization. To do that, you do options dot headers, okay, and you spread this options dot headers, okay. And for example, once it's authorization, you can do authorization, all right, and do, let's say, bearer, and you can add your use token or whatnot, all right. So let's return this function called use fetch API, and let's put in the path and the options, okay, like so, and our interceptor is ready. So one more thing we need to do before we wrap this up, we'll go over to our welcome page. And so what we want to do in our welcome page is inside our script setup, I'm going to do const data, all right, we're going to structure this to take out the data, what is wrong, data, the error, and pending if you need that. And we're going to do await use, what did we call it? Just come here, use fetch API. So await use fetch API, like so. And I'm going to do to-dos /1, okay, and put in the method, which is a get, okay, and yeah, that's it. So let's put this right here, or better still, let's do something like this, and we'll call the data, okay. Subsequently, we can also log our data. All right, so let's see how this look. All right, so we are supposed to use fetch here, and that should solve the problem. Okay, let's reload this. Okay, So we have our data coming in right here. Okay, so basically that's how you run that's how you set up a global API interceptor in your Nuxt application. um that's it, folks. If you like this tutorial, make sure to comment in the section if you want more Nuxt tutorials like this, and I'll sure to have them put up. All right.